Hey, I'm Scott Hanselman.
And I'm Maria Naggaga.
And we are here at the Microsoft Virtual Academy. This is ASP.NET Core and .NET Core. We're focusing today on cross-platform. So we're doing everything on either Ubuntu or on a Mac. This Mac right here is the Mac that we were using in the previous module. And Maria and I went and took a console app with Hello World.
Yeah.
We took it out to the web.
Yeah, we made it a web app.
But it's kind of lame. With all due respect.
With all due respect, it could be better.
Yes, because all it does is say hello world, and that's pretty much it.
That's it.
But we're on a Mac, and let's kind of level set and see what's going on here. Because if we take a look at my Mac here, I have got my browser. I've got Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is, in fact, an Electron app. Electron used to be called Atom Shell. It's a cross-platform app written in JavaScript, specifically TypeScript. That's not Visual Studio, like the super giant Visual Studio thing. So if I go to the File menu here, there's no File New Project.
So what do we do? That's a staple. Like, how do I create a brand new application with different options?
Right. So the way that you had me do it before, when I was here in the Scott folder, is you had me type .NET new, which was part of the basic commands, the common commands that are built into the .NET command line interface, or what we call the .NET CLI. We also noted that help is -- help. So I'm just going to take a guess here and say .NET new -- help.
Okay.
To get a little bit more information. This may change. Your CLI may look slightly different if you have a newer version, but we notice that there's lang and then there's type of project. What if I go .NET new -t -- help? All right.
There you go.
Available types. So it looks like the default one that we were doing was console.
So console just comes default.
Yep.
Okay.
You say nothing. You say .NET new by itself, and we got a little basic console app. Good for demos. Not good for basically anything else.
No.
Web and then lib. Of course, lib is just making a library. We talked about that a little bit in the introduction where we did shared libraries, global JSON, and having libraries reference each other. We'll cover unit testing as well. You can take a look at that in the previous introduction. But let's look at web. Let's try that.
Okay.
All right. So we're in Scott. I'm going to go up one, and then let's try Scott Web. Super advanced.
Very.
Stuff. Empty. Oh, there's my Linux. My Linux fingers. I'm on a Mac. I keep forgetting. All right. It's empty. Let's go and say .NET new -t web.
So what's in there?
What's in there? Oh, it got a lot bigger. It's considerably larger. We have controllers for the C in MVC. There's the M in MVC for models. And then we've got views. We also ended up with rather a more sophisticated layout with startup.cs and services. I can spend some time here and maybe look at it in Emacs or VI, but we should probably do it in Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
So I'm going to get out of this code, and I'm going to come here and say code dot.
So by doing .-t web, .new -t web.
.NET new -t web.
It was the same as going to File New and then you pick the MVC template?
It's the intent. The intent is that .NET New will have all the same kind of File New project features that you would get in Visual Studio.
Okay.
However, at the state of things as of the time of this recording, while .NET Core is released and it's supported, it's fully 1.0, the tooling is not quite at the same level everywhere. So this .NET New Web is slightly different. Equivalent, but slightly different than the one that you would get when you go File New Project. In the future, at some point, going File New Project in Visual Studio on Windows should give you the same thing that you would get a number of ways. But in fact, .NET New Web is just one web template. You're going to show me Yeoman, which is another way to generate these things as well. But because we're doing everything today on a Mac or on Ubuntu, we're not going to cheat.
No, let's not cheat.
We're not going to cheat. We're going to try to do all of this work entirely this way to show that it is a good environment and a good experience. So let's zoom in here and make this a little bigger.
Okay, most of there's some packages you need to restore.
Right, because we did not do a .NET restore explicitly, we will go ahead and hit restore and let Visual Studio Code do that work for us. All right, and over here on the left, we've got controllers. We ended up with home controller and Account control, you see that there's some squigglies here.
Yeah.
For a little while until Visual Studio Code kind of warms up, you can sometimes be in a we're not quite ready because we haven't got all of the libraries.
Okay, so they're just getting everything set up for you.
Yep. Those squigglies should go away. There you go.
There we go.
See, those squigglies go away. It took a couple of seconds because it was installing all these different tools. Once that's been done once, though, things are going to work nice. These squigglies here are different. Like, I like to think about it in terms of red for spelling and green for grammar. Right?
Yeah.
Spelling is a problem, and that'll get you fired. Grammar, that'll just make me think poorly of you. Here it's saying unnecessary using directive, and I could go and potentially fix that, but I don't care. All right, so we've got the home controller. We've got some database migrations with Entity Framework. Make sure that you see the Entity Framework stuff that we talked about with Rowan Miller.
Yep.
That was great stuff.
Really good stuff.
That is cross-platform and works on more than just SQL Server. You can do,
You can do Postgres, I believe.
Yeah, Postgres.
And there are a few coming in the works.
Yeah.
So if you go to GitHub, they should be showing you all the ones that are available.
We've got a couple of basic services here. Views, all the same things. If you go and look at the intermediate day, the intermediate ASP.NET Core class that we did for Microsoft Virtual Academy, everything we talked about there applies in Visual Studio Code on a Mac. The only differences, and the thing that we're going to talk about right now, is if you go File New Project, there is no File New Project. What do you do? First, let's see if this actually runs.
Let's make sure it runs, yeah.
Yeah, good call. .NET Run. Compiling. Listening on port 5000.
No errors?
No, let's go back over here. Hit refresh. That was your hello world. Fabulous. Not as fabulous.
So this is the upgrade.
This is the upgraded. Well, not really. It's the Bootstrap template that you get. But this is and looks like and works like the exact one that you get on Visual Studio because it effectively is.
And I like the fact that it's almost the standard Bootstrap template that you're expecting.
It is. We ship Bootstrap. Visual Studio ships Bootstrap. That's how we start. When we look at Yeoman, we'll see possibly other ways that we could do this. Let me go to About. Here it says Your Application Description Page. So I'll switch back over here, and let's find out where About is located.
So you could change that.
I'm going to change it right now, and then we will see what that experience is like. I'm looking for that text. There it is. So that text is a little model of sorts. They're passing in, as we saw during our MVA, Your Application Description Page. They're putting it into the view data, the data dictionary, and then that gets passed off to this view. So we're on the Home controller in the About view. That is down here, Views, Home, About, and then they output the message.
Okay, so if people want to learn more about, MVC and the pattern, they should probably watch what we did in the previous Getting Started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This here is trying to cover those things that are Mac and Linux specific.
Yeah.
Everything else applies. This is the nice thing about .NET Core. When you learn it, you really learn it everywhere.
Yeah, so what we said on the first day can be applied here.
Totally applies, exactly. So let's just change this code. Hey, I am on a Mac. Isn't that lovely? Save.
Okay.
Go back over here. Hit refresh, and nothing interesting happens.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to go back over to my application, stop it, and run it again.
So that seems a little back and forth-ish.
That's a nice way of saying lame.
A polite way.
Suboptimal is the way we refer to that. So yeah, the experience that I wish I had was change some code, refresh, change some code, refresh.
Yeah.
Right? It all depends. Everyone's project is different. Sometimes you're prototyping quickly. You want to do that.
Yeah.
Other times you don't want your app automatically restarting and building. So how can we make that experience a little bit nicer?
So what can we use? I think we talked about .NET Watch.
.NET Watch, exactly. So we are going .NET Run.
Yeah.
And remember, when we did .NET -- help, you commented that there are the common commands, but there are also these things called tools.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go down here to our project.json and explore what's going on. Oops. Project.json. Here's our dependencies.
Right there.
Right. These are the libraries that got brought in to go and support us. But down here, we've got tools. These are not shipped at runtime, right? These are tools that we're using at the design time, like the entity framework, user secrets. Yeah, we did a whole thing on user secrets. .NET Watch is a tool.
So we would include it there like a package.
Exactly, we include it there like a package. So it's a NuGet package, but it is also a tool. So it's called .NET Watch. It's up on GitHub. And if we go down here, all we have to do, see? These are the different tools. There's .NET Watch, how to install.
So we just need to take that line.
Take that there, Control-C, to the Tools section of project.json. Definitely has to be under Tools, or it won't work. So right about there and below. Does that look all right?
So do we need to include tools if it's already in the tools section?
We sure don't. So that goes away, and we'll do it like that.
Okay.
All right. Now we do have to go and do a restore manually at this point. That one time to get that tool. So it says restoring packages. Restoring packages for tool. I want to see .NET Watch go by, then I'll know I did it right. There it is.
Yeah.
All right. There it is. Installing .NET Watcher. Okay. Now, here's a little interesting bit of trivia or internal details. If I say .NET Run, we know what that does.
Yeah.
What if I said .NET Maria? That's not a thing.
No.
But it tried.
It tried to do it.
It tried to find an executable or command matching .NET-Maria. So I could actually make something and name it .NET-Maria, and that would become a tool.
Also, I could make my own tools.
You could make your own tools like .NET Squish CSS. It could maybe use, or .NET Uglify your JavaScript. It's totally up to you. So .NET Watch is a tool.
So I could build it, and then I could push. How would I get it included?
You would build a tool, and then you'd add it to the tools section, just like .NET Watch. So .NET Watch isn't a command that's a basic command or built-in command. It's something that that gets brought in as a package. So by adding that, suddenly I can type .NET Watch, and I get this.
Yep.
All right. Now, .NET Watch wraps other commands.
So it doesn't do anything just on its own.
It doesn't do anything on its own. So I have to say .NET Watch Run.
Okay.
So I'm going to say .NET Watch Run. This part is the .NET Watcher.
Okay.
This part is the .NET Run part, okay? And what I'm going to do is make this split screen. That's not something Max
I don't think you can really do that.
Well, let's try. We're going to put this over here, and we'll put this over here, and then we'll come over here, and we'll move this around. I should probably install a window manager, but I did not. Put this down here. Assume I have a giant high resolution monitor and I'm living the dream. For now, we'll do it like this. All right. So now I'm going to go and make that change again. I'm editing some code. I'm editing not some HTML, but I'm editing some actual C#. I love my Mac. And I'm going to hit Command S.
Okay. Oh.
All right. File changed. Home controller. Recompile, recompile, recompile.
All you have to do is refresh.
Hit refresh. And there you go.
What? Okay.
So now it's not like a PHP or Node where you make a change and hit refresh.
Yeah.
There is a compilation step, and there's a benefit to that because .NET Core is very fast, and you have this statically typed compiler that does this work ahead of time. But you do get a great experience where I can go Control S and then hit refresh and get that application back pretty quickly, a couple of seconds, and I'm back where I was before. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And what's nice about .NET Watch is it can watch other commands. So for example, I could have .NET Watch Test, kind of have the testing running all the time if I wanted to. It gives me just a little bit more control and a little bit more of a choice. And personally, I would probably include it by default in the template. I think that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that is kind of web development, basic web development. .NET Watch is definitely the tool that you want to install, but I'm not a huge Bootstrap fan.
So you want to try something else?
Yep, and you were saying that there's better ways to do this.
Yeah.
So let's not do this way. Let's go ahead and full screen again. We'll get out of Scott Web, and actually I'll shut down Visual Studio Code. And why don't you suggest something else?
So have you heard of Yeoman?
In fact, I have. Yeoman is what Node people do
Yeah.
to say file new project.
Exactly. So let's check to see if you have Yeoman installed.
Yo.
I love that command, by the way.
It is
I
nice.
think it's the coolest command out there.
It's good. I always spell Yeoman wrong. It's either Y-O-E or Y-E-O, but I can definitely type E-O on a regular basis. We installed the ASP.NET generator. So
Yeah.
even though Yeoman is what Node people use, it's a Node tool, there's no reason it can't generate other stuff like C#.
Yeah, it has millions.
Millions of generators.
Millions of generators.
All right, so we've got Yo ASP.NET, which makes me feel like I could maybe type Yo ASP.NET. Oh, actually, I probably shouldn't do it in my root
No,
folder.
you should create
that would
another
be a
one.
problem. That could be a problem. No, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Let's go and say Scott Yo. Okay,
Yeah.
so now I'm in there, and this is empty.
Yeah, that's completely empty.
All right, Yo ASP.NET.
So you can see a couple of options. So this reminds me of file, new project, then you go to web application, C# and have all these different options.
And it actually has some options that we don't see, like Nancy, which
yeah.
is a third-party ASP.NET framework. And then this nice one here, xunit.net. We can see that unit testing segment that we did on introductions. Also, you've got web application and then web application basic. Remember how we had empty and then web?
Yeah.
There's a middle place, which is like not quite empty, not quite everything. I just don't want authentication
Okay. You don't want authentication?
or authorization. Let's try
Okay.
that. Is that okay?
Yeah. So,
There we go.
So notice this. So you're going to see two different UIs. So you have Bootstrap, which is very well known.
Twitter Bootstrap.
And then you also have Semantic UI, which is a little bit, not cleaner, but it's more materialized. So do you want to go have a look at what that looks
Yeah,
like?
let's take a look. So I will pick Semantic UI and hit enter, and I'll just take the default name, and it went and generated that. And then, of course, because it includes JavaScript and CSS, it's using Bower to go and get those assets. So we've got a couple of different package managers going on here. We've got NuGet for C#.
Yeah.
We've got NPM for tooling, and we've got Bower for our CSS. And it looks like I need to go and update my Bower at some point. All right, let's go and get in there. And this looks slightly less complicated than before. I didn't, it's got fewer.
But a few things. I think I've noticed the Docker file.
Yeah, this one's actually prepped and ready to go for Docker.
Okay.
And a little bit later today on the cross-platform ASP.NET Core MVA, we'll have Glenn come and talk to us about Docker.
Yeah.
So this looks like it's nice because it's prepped for Docker.
It's prepped for Docker. And one thing that you notice, if you scroll up just a little, which I really appreciated, just a little bit more once you've created your application, is that you get the instructions on what you need to do. So if you're using this for a first time, don't worry. Like, we've set you up to succeed.
Yeah. Yeoman is smart about that, and the framework and these generators are smart. So it told me to do .NET Restore.
Sure.
We'll go and get these. This should not take too long. Getting a couple of tools it hadn't got before. There we go. And then .NET Run. Web Application Basic.
You can see all the things
Yeah,
it's bringing
and
in.
this is interesting. Actually, we should talk about this. You see how there was we haven't seen that before, where
Bundle.
it went and did bundling and stuff. Before we run this, actually, let's go back into code and look at this application because we made it with Yeoman. It's slightly different. We look at the project.json. Scroll down. Look, there are some scripts that run, optional scripts. So we had there a moment when we went and we see Bower install, .NET bundle is now a pre-compilation, pardon me. A Tasso bundle then is a tool, the bundler minifier.
Yeah.
And what that's doing is taking our CSS and our JavaScript and it's
Putting it all together.
putting it all together. So it's a nice reminder of that you can go and have.
And the pre-compile, pre-publish, and post-publish, these are also things you can add to existing applications.
Absolutely. And it's nice to explore different file new projects. Take a look at all the different ones that come with Yeoman because you'll see different tips and tricks like this, and it'll give you more information about what to explore in the docs.
Okay.
All right. So let's go and run that. Okay, and this will be on, I think, So I'm going to click on Chrome, and we'll go localhost 5000. Ooh.
And this is it's different, right?
It is not Bootstrap.
It's not Bootstrap.
Yeah, look at this. Okay. Yeah, different kind of style, different CSS. It's a whole world. And of course, very conveniently, they put in how-tos and overviews and stuff like that. So important to remember that we're not tied to Bootstrap. You use whatever makes you happy.
Whatever makes you happy.
And I can go back over into Visual Studio Code, and we can explore.
Some editing?
I want to just look at the editing, exactly, because I think we've got a great CSS editor inside of Visual Studio Code that makes it really easy to do these things. I'm actually going to get IntelliSense on the CSS as well. So I just wanted to point that out.
That's important, like for them to know that you can actually get IntelliSense across multiple languages.
That is a great point. This is an editor that is smart about JavaScript. It is smart about CSS. It can do all sorts of different languages. And if you come down here, you can actually go and bring other languages in. They're all over the place.
So this is the question. When you uploaded this particular project into Visual Studio Code, did it just automatically recognize all the languages?
So Visual Studio Code comes knowing a bunch of languages, but then there's little hints and stuff that it'll give you. So for example, I'm sitting here in JavaScript, and if you look down in the corner here, there's a little light bulb, and I click on it. It's giving me a tip, and it says, you know, if you create a JS config to tell us more about your JavaScript, we can go and say, well, here's the JavaScript I want you to navigate, here's the stuff I don't want you to navigate, and it'll become a better system. And if I go over here on the left, below debug, there's this package manager, okay? I can search for extensions in the marketplace. So let's say that I want to do Python.
Okay, so this is the same experience you have like with adding extensions.
Right, extensions in Visual Studio proper, except these are not written in C# and installed into Windows. They are cross-platform. They run anywhere. So now I'm enabled for Python. I could even go and say something like PowerShell, right?
Yeah.
Set myself up for success there. And then there are also snippets. Let's see if there's some snippets. See? So if you're using JavaScript pattern snippets, or Ionic, which is a mobile framework. If you're a Drupal person, whatever. These are all community snippets. Let's see if there's a C# snippets. Feels like there ought to be. Snippets for Haml. There's all kinds of stuff. You can also explore this up on the gallery. Okay. Those extensions, you're going to want to watch this just in case that things sometimes get out of date and they don't get updated. So if you click here, you could say show outdated extensions. And it will go and tell you that, oh, well, the C# extension needs to be updated. In
addition to that, I believe that you could also see the number of extensions, like on the icon, if you zoom out.
Number of installations?
Yeah, no, zoom out of that.
Yeah.
And the extension icon.
Oh, yeah, here.
Yeah, it will actually show you a number, like 1, 2, 3.
Look, it'll put a little badge there, and that badge will tell you exactly that is old or not, like this badge here.
Exactly, like that badge. It tells you saved or not saved.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so Scott, we've looked at the different supports, but one of the things that I always think about is that in Visual Studio, I have the pleasure of going right-click and I can add a new controller.
It's more than just file a new project.
Right? Yeah. So how do I do this here? That's one thing that I've been trying to figure out.
Right, so with Yeoman, we know, if we go back here and stop our application, we know we can go Yo ASP.NET and generate an entire application, but in fact there are what they call sub-generators underneath them. So I can say Yo ASP.NET help, and it will go and call Yeoman, and then these are basically the file new items.
Okay.
Okay, so here we can see you can go and make an Angular controller. This is actually very interesting. It's almost more stuff than you can make with Visual Studio.
So it's like when you get that dialog, that box up that shows you all the different options you have.
Huge list of stuff.
So this is just
this is that, except it's done as text.
Okay.
So we could go and say Yo ASP.NET, which is what we did to get an application, colon MVC controller Maria. That generator is now a subgenerator. I should have probably called it Maria controller. Let's say Maria controller. Okay. So there's Maria controller. I probably should have put that in the controllers folder. Now let's go back over here. There's Maria controller.
Okay.
Right? So that generated that little chunk of code. What's interesting, though, is that there's a ton of these things. So what else can we make?
So can you make a...
Let's make a view. Let's make a Maria view. So let's go and say...
Go into the view folder.
That's a good point. I should go down there first. It's not as fancy, right? It's at the command line in here. And then we'll probably make a Maria folder within there. And then maybe what we really want is an index view to be in the Maria folder, right? So then Yo, ASP, net, MVC view, index. Okay, so it says you don't seem to have an ASP.NET MVC view, probably because I didn't type it right, or it's
something else.
I think it's case sensitive. Okay, MVC view. There we go. Switch back.
Yeah, there you have it.
And you notice how Visual Studio Code is automatically...
It's automatically updating everything.
So another way to do this that would be cleaner to keep me from switching back and forth, again, is to go Control tilde, right? I'm in that folder right there. I can go into controllers, and we can see the Maria controller, and I could say Yo ASP.NET : MVC controller products controller. And then I'm hoping that Visual Studio Code will just notice and it'll just appear right there.
There it is.
See? So a better experience than switching back and forth is to do it in that terminal right there.
Because I've been asking myself this question for a while.
Yeah.
How do I do this?
It's pretty slick. So Yo ASP.NET, I think the trick is to actually remember them all, frankly.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton. TypeScript, let's do Web API controller.
Okay.
Let's do that one. Products API controller, and we'll say Web API controller. Now this is currently an open source project. This is not being maintained by Microsoft, but we're going to work it out where we try to get the same experience whether you're in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. You want to have a first-class experience. And there's no reason that someone couldn't make a right-click
That's the way I've been doing.
There's got to be a right-click menu or a way to do that. There could be extensions to Visual Studio Code to make that easier. So then we've got, right off the bat, a Web API controller. Products API, it looks like we made. Let's go and see if we can actually run that one to prove that it works. All right.
All right.
Oops. So now let's go and say .NET run. Project file. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. .NET run. I ran it from the controllers folder.
So yeah, so it would be like,
JSON.
what's this?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go back here. Make sure the app still runs, and then I think it was Products API controller?
Yeah, Products API.
Probably should have named it something better. Let's go and do API/Products API.
There you go.
There you go. Cool. So there we have been able to make a new basic application. We've seen that there are multiple kinds of applications, and you showed me Bootstrap and
Semantic UI.
Semantic UI, and then there's also sub-generators within Yeoman itself.
So you can have the experience that you have in Visual Studio, it's just a little bit different.
A little bit different, but it shouldn't be like Visual Studio. It should be like Mac people work or like Linux people work. And now, even though I started in Ubuntu, and then we went to your Mac, and now we're on this Mac, everything we've shown you works everywhere. So if you're a Windows person and you want to do Yeoman, you can do that.
Yeah.
If you're a Linux person and you want to run Visual Studio Code, you can do that.
Okay.
All right. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back with more open source and cross-platform ASP.NET Core on Microsoft Virtual Academy.